Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Troglodyte. Today I'm gonna react to Tony's favorite films list on Letterboxd. So some context before I start. So you might know this already if you follow my channel a lot. So Tony is a good friend of mine. I got to know him first through the comment section of my videos when he started watching and commenting on my videos back in late 2022. I think it was around the time the latest Sight and Sound list came out. And then he commented very regularly on my videos. At first it was, I think, quite short comments, but then slowly but surely he started commenting more and in a more in-depth way. And then we had these long comment chains on my videos where we talked about TV shows and music and films and literature and things like that. And then January this year, when I was very depressed, me and Tony did our first video call, which ended up being 10 hours long. We stayed up all night and had lots of fun talking. And then after that, we have had regular video calls, often like couple times a month. It sometimes changes, but quite often. And those are always big highlights for me every month. So we are good friends. We have very similar tastes when it comes to films, but also TV shows and music and literature, and we also share the kind of similar type of, I guess, values when it comes to art and even politics and things like that. So we are very similar type of people. But we have some differences as well, which obviously makes it fun. It would be boring if you agreed on like 100% of things. It's better when we agree on maybe 80% of things. Yeah. But anyway, he's a great friend. I'm really thankful that he's in my life and stuff. Hopefully we can eventually meet in person. We live in different countries and stuff. But anyway, you know him if you watch my channel as he comments on most of my videos. But anyway, let's go through this beautiful list now. I go through this list on Letterboxd all the time, as I tend to stalk Tony's Letterboxd page. Yeah, I'm a Letterboxd stalker. Yeah. But anyway, it has 134 films. I've seen 128 of them, so 6 films remaining for me to watch. But this list is in chronological order. So at first we have here some 20s cinema, some huge classics here. The Last Laugh from F.W. Murnau, which is one of his best films, if not his best. I mean, I would maybe say that Faust is his best film, but I think The Last Laugh is definitely in that conversation. Then we have Sherlock Jr., great Buster Keaton film. I think I prefer The General, but this one is definitely one of the better ones as well. Then we have masterpiece for the ages is The Passion of Joan of Arc by Carl Dreyer, an incredible film. And Dreyer made many incredible films, and I think there are a couple more here on the list as well. Then we have Man with a Movie Camera, incredibly influential, a great movie. Yeah. Then we have Chaplin film City Lights, which was actually the first Chaplin film I ever watched. I really need to rewatch this as I only watched it that once. And I actually became a bigger Chaplin fan as I watched some of his other films and not through this film. I think, again, many people say that this is their favorite Chaplin, and it might be for me as well when I watch it again, but currently it's not one of my favorites. Then we have Freaks, which I watched earlier this year. Really good movie. It's not a personal favorite for me, but I really enjoyed watching it. Then we have one of Ozu's best early films. It's I Was Born But, often rated as his best film from the 30s. I think people would often say that it's either this or Story of Floating Weeds, but I would pick this one. Then we have another Dreyer film, Vampire, which I really need to rewatch as well, but it's a really amazing film. Yeah. Then we have Land Without Bread. So this is the first film here that I haven't seen yet. So this is a Buñuel short film. I think it's like 30 minutes long. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I've seen like a dozen Buñuel films, I think, but this is one that I haven't seen. So yeah. Then we have The Magnificent Ambersons. And as you can see, no Citizen Kane here. So that's a hot take, I guess. But I don't have either this or Citizen Kane on my list, even though I like both films, but I'm a bigger fan of some other Orson Welles films like The Trial and Chimes at Midnight and F for Fake, for example. But these obviously must-watch Welles films. Yeah. Then we have an incredible short film, Meshes of the Afternoon. I was actually very surprised when the Sight and Sound list came out in 2022, and many people said that they hadn't even heard of this film, even though it's such a important and influential film. So it was kind of baffling to me how so many people said that they had never heard of it. And this has been on the Sight and Sound list before 2022 as well, I think. But yeah, it's one of the best short films ever made. Should watch that again sometime. And this is actually my favorite David Lean film. I'm not that big of a fan of the huge David Lean films, although I haven't seen all of them, but Lawrence of Arabia, I know it's absolute sacrilege to say that I don't love it, but I just don't. It's just boring people in the desert for 4 hours. So it's immaculate visually, but I think other than that, it's not that interesting. But this one, on the other hand, is like my type of film. Yeah, low key, beautiful, very emotional film. Rome Open City. So Tony is a huge Rossellini fan. He often calls him God Cellini. And I've become a bigger Rossellini fan after I became friends with Tony, as he often talks about Rossellini, so I was kind of even more keen to try to get more into his films. So I did, and he has grown on my appreciation as well. But this is obviously one of the best films of the 40s and of all time. Then we have Beauty and the Beast. It's been like quite a long time since I watched this for the last time, but currently it's my favorite of the Beauty and the Beast adaptations that I have seen. Then this is another one that I haven't seen yet, but I'm probably gonna love it. So it's Vittorio De Sica's Shoeshine. So this came out a bit before Bicycle Thieves, I think a couple years before. But yeah, probably gonna love that one. Then we have a masterpiece. It's Black Narcissus by the Archers. Incredible film, especially aesthetically. It's just such a marvel to witness. Yeah. And I also really love the last kind of 20 minutes of the film. It gets very intense in the end. Germany Year Zero is a film that's so heartbreaking and dark, but so incredible. Yeah. The Red Shoes in the conversation for being the greatest film of all time. I absolutely adore it. Late Spring, another all-time great, one of Ozu's best. Incredible ending, and yeah. In a Lonely Place is one of Nicholas Ray's best films. Tony, just like me, is a huge Nicholas Ray fan. Yeah. Then we have Song of Love. So this is the Sean Chenet film, like a short film, short gay film from the 50s. Yeah, I've seen this once quite a few years ago, but I remember liking it a lot. Yeah, need to watch it again. Yeah, this is definitely among my favorite Buñuel's. It's Los Olvidados. It's not quite as surreal as some of his most surreal films, but it has a bit of that as well. But yeah, great stuff. Early Summer, I really need to rewatch, but it's the part of the Noriko trilogy like Late Spring is. Yeah, it's really good. Diary of a Country Priest is a masterpiece, Bresson film, another one that I need to rewatch. And I know Tony has also recommended me the book, which I want to read. Yeah, Tony is way more well read than me, although he's a bit older than me as well, so I still have time to catch up. But yeah, he's really well read, and I really respect that. Always get such a huge smirk on my face when he starts name dropping all the great authors and philosophers and things like that. Yeah, I got such a high from that. Yeah, a streetcar named Desire, incredible film. I really love this one. I saw this one in the cinema actually, which was great in PFI South Bank. Yeah, we have Summer Interlude, an early Bergman film. I've only seen this one once, but the summer films from Bergman like this and then Summer with Monica, they're very kind of nostalgic films for me as they remind me of my childhood in like swimming in the lakes in Finland and stuff like that. So yeah, this is my favorite Rossellini film, and this was actually something that I watched as Tony had recommended it to me. I mean, I would have watched it eventually anyway, but I kind of prioritized it because Tony recommended it to me, and I ended up absolutely loving this film. Then The Life of Oharu. Me and Altes did a podcast on this, but yeah, another masterpiece. I'm really glad to have it here. And Tony actually also inspired me to kind of get back into Misoguchi early last year. And then, like I've said in my channel, last year was the year when Misoguchi fully clicked with me, and now he's in my like top 20, top 15 directors of all time. So thank you, Tony, for that as well. Yeah, I can see. Arigato. Yeah. Umberto D from Vittorio De Sica. Incredible film. This is one that I think me and Altes might do for the podcast at some point. Yeah, it's almost as good as Bicycle Thieves for me. I mean, it gets a bit maybe slightly overly sentimental and stuff at points, but I still think it's a great film. Then we have Tokyo Story, yeah, other masterpiece. So Tony has the whole Noriko trilogy here. Yeah. Journey to Italy, I need to rewatch. Currently, it's a film that I like, but I don't love it. But yeah, it's another Rossellini Bergman collab. Then we have the great Sancho the Bailiff, and my rewatch of Sancho the Bailiff last year was the thing that made me get into Misaguchi more. So then I watched some of his other films and rewatched Yugetsu as well. And yeah, Last Ride I need to rewatch, but it's a really good Fellini film. And of course, we have lots of Fellini scheduled for the podcast for the rest of the year. 3 Fellini films, and this is actually currently the only one that Altes has seen. But we will do 8.5 Nights of Cabiria and Satyricon. Then more Trier, It's or Death, which might be actually my favorite one, even though I'm not religious, but there's just something so magical and emotional about this film. It's great, and another one that we will probably do for the podcast. Pater Panchali is really good as well. Then this I actually watched as it was in Tony's favorites list, so it's La Pointe Corte, an Agnes Varda film, very early film from her. This kind of left me cold a bit, but I appreciated the film, but it didn't kind of connect with me personally that much. Rebel Without a Cause, another Nick Ray film, and another film I saw in the cinema. I know Tony is a huge James Dean fan. I think he even mentioned once that he has a poster of this on his wall. Yeah, but it's a great film. Aparajito, the second part of the Satyajit Ray Apu trilogy. Yeah. Then we have Bigger Than Life, which we talked about on the podcast. Might be my favorite Nicholas Ray film. It's absolutely incredible. And this one I've obviously mentioned quite a few times on my channel. It's Piazza by Guru Dutt. Another masterpiece, my favorite film from India currently. Such a beautiful film about poetry and what it means to be an artist and things like that. This one is on YouTube usually, so definitely go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's a utter masterpiece. Wild Strawberries I rewatched last year, and on my rewatch it completely clicked with me. Incredible film, and probably will get better as I get older. Then we have Apur Sansar, the third part of the Apu trilogy. This one might actually be my favorite of the trilogy, but I need to watch them again. Hiroshima Mon Amour is another masterpiece, one of the best films of all time. Perhaps the best film of French New Wave. It's one of the early films of French New Wave as well. Yeah, Marguerite Duras script, Alain René's beautiful directing and the beautiful performances by these two actors. So yeah, great stuff. This is probably my favorite Douglas Sirk film currently. It's Imitation of Life. I haven't seen the earlier version of this story, but this Douglas Sirk version is an all-timer. It's great. L'Avventura is a masterpiece. La Dolce Vita is a masterpiece, and this one we probably maybe do for the podcast next year. Yeah. And this was one that I struggled to connect with on my first watch, but then when I rewatched it, I started liking it more. The Cloud Capped Star is an absolutely incredible film, but I think I prefer River Called Tita from this director even more, even though that's maybe a more flawed film than this one, but there's some strange beauty about River Called Tita. Yeah. Late Autumn is one of Osu's best films, one of his late color films. A Woman is a Woman is one of Godard's most accessible films. It's incredibly funny film about gender roles. Yeah. The End of Summer is a slightly underrated Ozu film. Absolutely love it. West Side Story I just watched for the first time and yeah, I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Just beautiful music, okay, the choreography, the aesthetic, everything is just so great about it. Yeah. In autumn afternoon, we talked about on the podcast, might be Ozu's best film, and it was his last film. Cleo from 5 to 7 is another masterpiece, by far my favorite film from Varda. The Exterminating Angel is my favorite Buñuel film currently. Incredible film. Again, another film that actually didn't connect with me on my first watch, but then when I went back to it, I fell in love with it. And you can analyze that film in so many different ways. So maybe we'll do this for the podcast as well. It would be fun to do a deep dive on this film. Vivre sa vie we will probably do for the podcast as well. It's my favorite Godard along with La Chinoise. Yeah. This is one of Godard's most emotional films. People often say that he's a very cold filmmaker, but I think this film has lots of emotion. The House is Black. I've seen it, but I don't remember that much about it, but I remember liking it. Winterlight is a very strong Bergman film. Yeah, great stuff. Gertrude is another Trier film, which I also need to watch again, but I like it a lot. The Married Woman is another film that I watched based on Tony's recommendation. And I think it's a quite a way underrated Godard film. It became an instant favorite for me. It's one of his most beautiful looking films. It's not one of his most complex films. I think it's fairly accessible for a Godard film. But it has lots of themes about capitalism and its effect on relationships and things like that. Red Desert, another film that connected with me more on a rewatch. Now I think it's one of Antonioni's best. Emperors of Cherbourg. Obviously, I always talk about this film on my channel. I think it's probably in my top 5 of all time these days. Might be even in my top 3 just after Firewalk with Me and Mulholland Drive. I just love it that much. And earlier this year, I actually watched this film, and then after the film, I had a call with Tony. So that was a perfect day. Yeah, we are both such big Demi fanboys. Yeah. Then Persona is Bergman's best film, I think, by far, and would be on my Sight and Sound ballot, and is also on my top 20 favorites of all time. This one was another recommendation from Tony. It's The Taking of Power by Louis XIV. So it's another Rossellini film. It's one of his like those historical films where barely anything happens and everything is kind of very bare bones and there's no kind of big conflicts or anything like that. It's just very mundane and banal, but that kind of that banality becomes a style and it becomes very interesting and unique. La Chinoa, we did a podcast on this. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And this one I actually recommended to Tony, so it's Open Coupe by Guy Gilles, a French New Wave film, utterly beautiful with a great queer aesthetic. It's just such a beautiful film. And I always say that it kind of reminds me of that it has a bit of Alain Resnais, but also a bit of Demi in terms of the colors. Then I think this might be even Tony's favorite film of all time. He absolutely loves this one. It's The Young Girls of Rochefort by Jacques Demy. Yeah, he always waxes lyrical about this one. He just thinks that it has so much joy and beauty in it, and he loves musicals. And I love this film too. Not quite as much as Tony does, but I love it a lot. So yeah. 2001: Space Odyssey. Yeah. Funeral Parade of Roses. Yeah. I love it. I've talked about it many times. Yeah. My Night at Moth's. I actually just rewatched this recently, and yeah, it's such a big favorite of mine. It's one of Rome's best films. I love the scene when they are in the restaurant talking about like Marxism and Pascal, and then after that philosophical discussion, they go listen to like they go to a classical music concert. So I think last time me and Tony talked, I said to him that yeah, that would be a perfect day for an intellectual. That yeah, first you talk about philosophy and then you go listen to some beautiful music. Yeah, and Rome is kind of like our mutual obsession, and it kind of symbolizes our friendship to me. Like because every time I think about Rome, I start thinking about Tony as well. Yeah. Then we have Donkey Skin by Jacques Demy. Yeah, which I've also talked about quite a lot on my channel. It's one of Demy's best, and I think it's a bit of an underrated film. Then I think this Tony was based on my recommendation. It's Mani Kaulus Uskiroti, very Presonian film, very underrated film. More people should watch it, but it's not that available. And when you find it online, it's usually on really bad quality, but I would still highly recommend it. And this Tony just watched, I had kind of said to him so many times in the last half a year that you must watch Pink Narcissus. When are you gonna watch it? Please watch it now. And he finally watched it now this summer, and he loved it. Again, aesthetically, one of the most beautiful films of all time. It's just absolutely incredible. The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. Tony always says that I have to watch it again because isn't actually one of my favorite Fassbinders, even though Fassbinder is one of my favorites, and this is usually one of his most acclaimed films. But I watched it back when I wasn't a Fassbinder fan yet, so I really need to rewatch it. And I might have this for our podcast as well. And this one might be for our podcast as well. It's Cries and Whispers, Viskningar och Ru by Bergman, one of his best films. Love in the Afternoon I rewatched earlier this year as well. Absolutely love it. It's another Rome film of the Six Moral Tales. This is the final part of it. And we've talked about this with Tony on our chats this year as well. Yeah. Beautiful ending. Love the turtlenecks and everything. So yeah. Then we have Zambi Sanga with a very homoerotic poster. Really good film. I think Tony likes this one more than me. I think he even wrote a short review for this on Letterboxd. Then possibly the best film about marriage ever made. It's Scenes from a Marriage from Bergman. It's incredible, the longer cut. I absolutely love it. Yeah. The Spirit of the Beehive. Tony is a big Victor Erice fan. I really need to rewatch this one. And this was also picked by Ryusuke Hamaguchi in his Letterboxd video as one of his 4 favorites. And me and Tony are huge Hamaguchi fans as well. Yeah. This one will be a podcast discussion later this year. It's Ali, Fear is the Soul, Fassbinder's most famous film and one of his best. Carrie, this is the one De Palma film I absolutely love. I have a big emotional connection to it. I relate to it. Yeah, it's so great. Then we have Cria Cuervos, which is a really good film. Taxi Driver, a classic. Me and Tony aren't the biggest Scorsese fans in general, but we both think that this is a great movie. Yeah, this is one of Varda's best films. It's one sings, the other doesn't. Yeah, incredible. And I kind of wish Varda made a bit more films like this. Again, she focused a lot on documentaries on his career, but I wish she made more films like Leo from 5 to 7 and more films like this. This one I haven't seen yet. I think it's a Carlos Saura film that Tony, I think, rewatched recently. It's Blood Wedding. Paulina La Plage, another beautiful Romain film. And this one we talked about on the podcast as well. Fanny and Alexander isn't one of my favorite Bergmans. I think it's a bit too cookie cutter for Bergman's talents. This feels more like a Hollywood film, and I don't really like that about it. I mean, it's a good movie, but when you put it next to Persona, it kind of looks like a piece of shit, to be honest. But yeah, it's still good. El Sur is another Victor Erice film. And I actually, when I watched The Spirit of the Beehive and El Sur, I think I liked El Sur a bit more, even though Beehive is the more famous one. Then we have the Terminator, so the first Terminator. I haven't seen this in ages. And even as a kid, I always tended to gravitate towards the second one more than this first one. And even the third one more than this first one, because I actually loved the third one as a kid. But I need to watch this again at some point, yeah. Full Moon in Paris is beautiful film. We are both big fans of Pascal Augier, one of our favorite actresses, and she's just so good in this film. Yeah, this is just so beautiful. Angel's Egg by Mamoru Oshii. I think he might have actually watched this because I talked about it on my channel, and yeah, he ended up loving it a lot. Yeah. Then Showa, best documentary of all time. Then this Tony just rewatched. It's the Green Ray, Le Rayon Vert, or however it's in French. But yeah, one of Romain's best films. Yeah, we talk about this all the time as well. It's just so great. Then Hannah and Her Sisters. Yeah, Tony's a very big Woody Allen film. I think he likes the snobbery in the Woody Allen films. So yeah, this one I need to rewatch. It's Romain's Boyfriends and Girlfriends. Yeah, think I'm gonna like it more on my rewatch. And this is an all-timer for me. It's Four Adventures of Reinette and Mirabelle. One of my one of my favorite film titles as well. Yeah, this is just so charming. Oh, it's just so good. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it, but it's just so beautiful. Yeah, probably gonna do that for the podcast next year, just like we are gonna do the Green Ray and maybe even Boyfriends and Girlfriends. Then this is the one of the Coger trilogy films. Where is the Friend's House? I also think that this is a masterpiece, such a beautiful and deceptively simple film. Wings of Desire, I really need to rewatch. I watched it a long time ago and I didn't really like it. I had like huge expectations for it as I had just seen Paris, Texas, and actually loved that one. But then this disappointed me. But it's been such a long time, so I might love it now. Yeelan is a really good film. It's great to see it here. You don't always see it on lists, so it's kind of an underrated film. Yeah. My Neighbor Totoro. I actually rewatched this last year as it, or was it early this year? But when I saw it in Tony's list, and yeah, I love it more on rewatch, and it even made me cry a little bit in the end. So yeah. Decalogue is great. I've been rewatching the OC and just yesterday saw the scene when Taylor says that I just got Kieslowski's Decalogue on DVD. I don't know if you're a fan of Polish cinema, but we could binge watch it now. Yeah, Kiki's Delivery Service. I know this is one of Tony's absolute favorites. He has a big emotional connection to this one, and I love it too. And I watched it as Tony recommended it to me. So yeah, then Close Up by Kiarostami, the first Kiarostami I ever watched, a masterpiece. And this is kind of the film that symbolizes my friendship with Tony to me the most, as we both love this film Conte de Hiver by Romain, because it's kind of a film that showcases what me and Tony think about love and what we think about relationships and things like that. So both of us really relate to the ideas of this film. So I think it's a film that means a lot to both me and Tony, and we always talk about it. And I've also referenced it many times when I've written some poems because I write some poems. I don't how do you say it, publish them anywhere, but I've written some poems so and showed them to Tony, and I often reference this film there. Life and Nothing More, another film from the Coker trilogy, another masterpiece. The Long Day Closes, Terence Davies film, it's a good one. And then, no, you know what I think about this one. Yeah, Questions in a World of Blue. Yeah, Donna, I love you, James. Yeah, Tony wrote a review for this one as well. It's a really good review. This one I haven't seen yet, 1 year on 42nd Street, but looking forward to it. Fallen Angels, one of Wong Kar-wai's best films. Happy to see some Kaurismäki here. Drifting Clouds is one of his best films. Yeah, Gappe is a really beautiful film aesthetically. Need to watch that again. And Secrets and Lies is one of my absolute favorites. It absolutely destroys me every time I watch it. Yeah, I remember last time I was almost had a panic attack when I saw the last 30 minutes because it's so relatable. Happy Together. Yeah, I absolutely love this film, especially after my rewatch last year. And the reason I rewatched it was because Tony always talked about it. And Tony finally watched this recently, Neon Genesis Evangelion, the end of Evangelion. He had seen the show and he rewatched the show, but then he watched this film for the first time, and I think he said that he likes the film more than the show. All About My Mother. Um, Tony is a big Almodovar fan. I'm not as big of a fan of him. I like Almodovar films, but they never blew me away. But maybe they will at some point. This is a recent favorite for Tony. I haven't seen this yet. It's the little girl who sold the sun. Looking forward to watching it. Then we have this Darden brothers film Rosetta, and they are also directors that I'm not the biggest fan of them because I feel like there are other directors who do the exact same thing but better. So yeah. Then Mulholland Drive. This is the girl. Yeah. The Man Without a Past. A beautiful Kaurismäki film, one of his best. Incredible, really funny as well. Another Almodovar, Talk to Her. It's good, but again, I don't love it. This one I haven't seen yet. It's a Sokurov film, Father and Son. But I watched the similar film, Mother and Son, earlier this year, and I fell in love with it, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Yeah, some Chai Ming Liang, Goodbye Dragonine. I think this is the only Ming Liang that he has seen, so I think he will like more of his work, and we will do Ming Liang's feature debut for the podcast later this year. Rebels of the Neon God. So I think if Tony watches it for the podcast, I think he will like it a lot. Lost in Translation is a film that I haven't seen in ages, but I remember liking it. But again, I don't like it this much. I need to watch it again. 2046 is my second favorite Wong Kar-wai film after Happy Together. It might become even like a, it might go to my favorites list after a rewatch, but it's already very close. Nobody Knows. Yeah, love this Corella film, one of my favorites. Vera Drake is a really good Mike Lee film. I Killed My Mother. Tony watched based on my recommendation, I think, and I'm glad that he loved it because he has some problems with Xavier Dolan's style and films, but I'm glad that he liked this one a lot. The Tree of Life, incredible Malik film, need to rewatch it. Weekend, I think Tony might have actually watched this one too based on my recommendation, but yeah, he liked this one a lot, as do I. And we talk about Andrew Hay quite often, so. And Happy Hour is a Hamaguchi film that we always talk about. I mean, we always talk about Hamaguchi, and we've also talked about this film. Then I think he kind of got inspired to get into Hong Sang-soo based on my recommendation as well, and Then he has watched quite a lot of Hong Sang-soo films scenes, and he likes them a lot. Because me and Tony love these films where nothing happens, but people just talk. Yeah. Quiet Passion, this one I watched based on Tony's recommendation. It's a kind of biopic about Emily Dickinson. It's a good one. Yeah. Drive My Car, I absolutely adore. And I also adore this other Hamaguchi film, Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy. Incredible films. And then All of Us Strangers. Pony wrote a great review for this. I also absolutely love this one. Very relatable film for me, and we will do these Andrew Hay films for the podcast at some point. Yeah. And then Tony also has this kind of miscellaneous favorites list here on Letterboxd where he has some like music films and like ballet and things like that, theater. So I've only seen this one out of these. Swan Lake is the gay version of Swan Lake from 2012 and absolutely love that one. I watched it on Christmas Eve last year. It was great. Then we have some Radiohead and some Björk, I think, yeah. Vespertine Live. You need to watch that as well. Myself, because I love Björk and I love Vespertine. Yeah. But Tony is a big fan of ballet and theater and music and everything beautiful like that. Yeah. But yeah, definitely check out his Letterboxd page and his beautiful reviews. He has a good talent of like summing up films really well in a very like short reviews. So I really love reading his reviews. And I think this is an amazing list. I don't really have anything bad to say about it because he has such a similar taste to me. But yeah, thank you to Tony and thanks everybody for watching. Yeah. And yeah, I will do more of these types of list reactions soon because I think people like watching them usually and they get decent amount of views and likes and stuff. So and I like doing this. So yeah. Thanks for watching. Don't drink Coke at all. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.